In this episode of CRM Audio, the Microsoft Business Applications podcast, Shawn Tabor and I discuss what we learned at Ignite, a recap of the top 10 items that we heard at Ignite 2018. This episode is brought to you by Maplytics by Inogic. Maplytics by Inogic is a market-leading certified for Microsoft Dynamics 365 geoanalytical mapping app. Maplytics empowers users with powerful map visualization and routing capabilities within Dynamics CRM to drive better sales, improve business processes, and engage the right customers at the right time. Maplytics now works with Dynamics 365 version 9 and Dynamics 365 app for mobile and tablet. Inogic is a leading Microsoft Gold Dynamics CRM ISV, delivering best-in-class Dynamics 365 solutions as well as cost-effective and high-quality programming services. We thank Maplytics by Inogic for sponsoring CRM Audio, the Microsoft Business Applications podcast. So what we learned at Ignite, I've compiled a, you might say, top 10 list. First thing is AI. AI is everywhere. And Microsoft had some really big announcements about AI, three different applications that they're releasing: AI for sales, AI for customer service, and AI for market insights. And you might say, well, Microsoft has been doing AI for a long time. That's true, but what they want to do with these is democratize them for scenario-specific cases that in a way that doesn't require a data scientist or a programmer to get started with them, but yet allowing you to extend them. So AI for sales, for example, is focusing on things like recommendations as well as text sentiment analysis on sales calls, taking transcription of phone call recordings and doing sentiment analysis on that. And these are also things that are not just targeted towards Dynamics 365 users. These are going to be platforms that can be leveraged by people who use other systems. AI for customer service is going to do things like incorporate virtual agent bots and, for example, be able to be smart enough to know when your agents are overloaded and transfer things to the virtual agent. And then AI for market insights is using AI for marketing for things like social and other sources, and using artificial intelligence to enhance that. There's a great video. It's Satya Nadella and one of the program managers for that group talking through the AI for customer service scenarios. These are pieces that are not going to be initially in the October release, but will be in preview by the end of the year. And some of these, like the phone call sentiment analysis, are already available for private preview. Mixed reality is also a big thing. And this is where something that a couple of years ago seemed Star Trek to me is now becoming real world. You know, two new apps in the Dynamics family, Remote Assist and Layout. So Remote Assist is geared towards things like field service that is designed to help first-line workers actually repair things and triage issues virtually via HoloLens or other pieces. And then Layout, that's geared towards manufacturing and retail, doing things like visualizing room layouts. And they had a HoloLens there. I didn't get to put it on, but Shawn, I don't know if you got to wear the HoloLens last week.
Well, given that it is a toy that I put on my head, yes, I did, and it was a really cool experience. I got to do both Remote Assist and the Layout. With Remote Assist, they had on the other side of the wall somewhat the person that you use Teams to contact and have the Remote Assist, but it really did a great job in providing direction and guidance in the heads-up display to allow me to perform the task that was needed. I could definitely see how that could benefit someone in the field, maybe someone new going through on-the-job training for more of a minor repair, or even a complex repair that's doing things that it will normally do. So that was a lot of fun and really keen to see. For Layout, the really cool thing about Layout was that you are literally on a production floor and you are putting large pieces of equipment in areas of the production floor and looking at, do I have the 3 feet required for American, the Disability Act? Do I have clearance for a walkway that's existing as people move through? And then the ability to shift these objects dynamically. And then what they talked about afterwards is then you have the ability to download that layout format to where you could share it with other people to get approvals and move forward. But it was a really, really cool experience and a really great use of the mixed reality technology.
Dynamics 365 for customer service. There's some big things happening with Dynamics 365 for customer service. Microsoft is following a bring your own channel approach and striving to maintain context between channels. So when you move between the chat and the phone and other channels, you don't lose the context. Where right now we have separate channels, not true omni-channel, but where we're going is true omni-channel. And the omni-channel engagement hub is going to be kind of the center of this. So that things like SMS, things like chat, and I still haven't got an official answer, but Microsoft is going to have native chat capability. And so I don't know what that means, how that's distinguished from the existing CafeX relationship, or if that's incorporating CafeX. I wasn't able to get an answer on that. But there's a lot of stuff in here around, so for example, I think the Bring Your Own Channel is going to change in a big way how we do our telephony integrations. The vision of this is having kind of a plug and play, insert channel of your choice in there. And so, and things like queues, sharing common queues between them. Using unified resource scheduling to schedule customer service. That's another big thing. They're integrating the Microsoft bot framework and enabling customers to bring their own bots to it as well. So a lot of exciting things happening here. It's not just the kind of old stale case management that we've done for so long. That's still central to it.
So I would say for the channel engagement hub, we probably wouldn't see that GTM until probably the spring release, I would imagine.
But the bring your own channel framework is now available
in October, right? But the bigger piece of that probably not till the spring.
Yeah, it says December. The preview will be in December. Power Platform is central to Microsoft's strategy. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not just talking about Dynamics. I'm talking about Power Apps, Flow, CDS. It's central. It was mentioned in the keynote. You need to get on the Power Platform train and get comfortable with concepts around Flow, Power Apps, and CDS. A lot of things, for example, connectors you use for Dynamics now, you're going to use CDS connectors, for example. And Flow and Power Apps are first-class citizens in the Power Platform, and as of the 9.1 release, can be included in Dynamics 365 solutions. So they're just another component along with workflows. Unified interface. If you're not familiar with unified interface, what you need to know is starting basically now, every new trial will be unified interface by default. What that means is when you go and create a new trial, you're going to get the app selector. And it's not going to have that custom app. It's going to have the sales or the customer service unified interface apps, and then you can create a new app. When you create a new app, it's only going to give you the option to create a unified interface app module. So App Designer and Unified Interface, if you're not familiar with them, you need to get familiar with them now. Now, if you need the admin experience, so you need to have the settings, the configuration, the security roles, you'll go up to the settings gear, and it'll be available from there. But it's not going to be the full legacy web client interface. It's going to be just the settings area of that. Now they are giving us a way to still get a legacy interface full sitemap environment, which is go to trials.dynamics.com, but that's not going to be there forever. This is Microsoft saying you need to get on the unified interface train. And so if you have existing customers that have app modules built in legacy interface, they're not being taken away. So don't worry, Microsoft's not going to surprise your customers.
And also with those customers who have a legacy web experience app, there is a way to convert it within the settings area to a unified interface. But once you do that, you can't move it back. So make sure you do that in a dev or test environment before you perform that in prod. The other thing I would say is, I think everyone should at least spin up a trial to understand what this experience is like and get a little bit familiar with it. This is a great way to find out what questions you have about unified interface, what it's going to mean for your customers, what it means for you personally in terms of what you need to learn, how you need to rethink configuration and user experience.
And talking to people, the program managers at Microsoft, 100% of the R&D for performance of the interface is going into unified interface. The recommendation that I give people is start small. Pick your smallest group, build an app module, then make a unified interface, and get them using it, get comfortable with it, and then have a plan for rolling that experience out to the wider audience over time. You don't have to do it all at one time. It can be done very painlessly.
One other comment on the unified interface that I'm experiencing in my current project, if you have an implementation that's using Unified Service Desk and you have the web experience tied to that through Internet Explorer, maybe you're on an older version of USD. With USD 4.0, unified interface is fully supported. There's a migration tool to help you move to unified interface from your web experience. If you have a unified interface file, install Unified Service Desk on top of it to get a feel for how that works, what changes, that kind of thing. So another tool in the toolbox for you guys to use.
Microsoft Learn. Microsoft had a big announcement of a new learning portal. They're partnering with Pluralsight to deliver some really high quality role-based learning paths.
So Microsoft Learn is Microsoft's way to create a hub for all of their learning that provides a lot of free options that are aligned with the certification and career paths that they've now created. What you're going to find going forward is the certification paths are changing. They're becoming role-based, much more than they have been in the past. There are literal consultant and architect paths being created for each of the certifications. The first one to have this is the Azure path, and you can see on the Microsoft Learn site that when you go to start learning for free, one of the first things is introduction to Azure. Now, one of the really cool things about Microsoft Learn that I experienced at Ignite was it's not just your standard vanilla. Remember the old partner story videos where you'd sit there and it'd drone on for 45 minutes and then you'd take a little quiz and you moved on to the next one. This is literal learning, meaning if I go into this introduction to Azure, it's going to give me the ability to connect directly to Azure in a live instance. It's going to give me the ability to go into PowerShell and create and run some commands to set up my Azure information that I need for the session. It's going to give me the ability to actually execute the directions from the learning in a live environment, something they've never really been able to do before, but they do it seamlessly through VMs, and it's really, really cool. You can start a learning path, so you have the ability to select your role. So right now, the roles are Azure Developer, Azure Administrator, Azure Solution Architect, Business User, or Business Analyst, and from that, it'll give you a path to the recognized certifications. There's also hands-on learning, which is what I was talking about with the real live actions. You could also learn for free through the browser.
And there is stuff about Dynamics and Power Apps and Flow in there. Just that content's a little bit light right now.
Right. And all of that, this is the beginning of Microsoft Learn, and they launched it with Azure, but you're going to start seeing sessions on Power BI, Dynamics 365, CDS, Power Apps, Flow, etc. They've also given the ability to create to take advantage of free Pluralsight courses. Pluralsight and Microsoft have joined together to build this thing called Role IQ. It gives you a free assessment to understand where you're at in the path for a given track. So if you're an Azure developer, you can go onto the Pluralsight for free, and if you don't have a normal Pluralsight account, you can for a free account that gives you access to the Microsoft Azure, as of right now, Azure courses, and you can take a sample test that will quiz you on your knowledge of Azure development. It will then give you a rating from novice to expert, and based on that, it'll customize the course for you. So no longer do you have to take a course, no matter what your skill level is. You don't have to take it from the base level all the way to the end. You can start where you need to start, and it moves you through that very well. I took the Azure Architect intro test, and I got a proficient level, so I'm not ready for certification, but with some additional courses, I could be ready soon, and that's my plan. The other item I wanted to show is for developers. They announced this new Office 365 developer program that gives a lot more of free learning that's available to you, and from here you can sign up for whichever track you want and get more free classes and get a developer subscription. So if you're not taking advantage of that and you're a developer, I would encourage you to do so. So lots of learning things from Ignite. They're really putting a lot of effort behind this, which is great, and it's much better than it used to be with the old partner source.
When a customer asks me, where should I go for online training, there's this thing called Imagine Academy that some people have access to with their customer source login, but nobody seems to know who their customer source admin is, so you got to dig around and sometimes find they don't have it. So this is a great thing. I think this is in some ways responding to Salesforce's Trailhead, which Salesforce has done a really good job with free online training material, and Microsoft is stepping up their game there. So some other things that were announced there. Microsoft announced AI for Good, which if you watch the keynote, they highlight some things about that. Microsoft wants to make sure this technology is used for positive outcomes in the world. And so this includes three different things: AI for humanitarian action, things like tracking refugees and working with people who work with refugee populations, working with things like Operation Smile that helps children born with cleft palates and extreme facial deformities. There's some really inspiring stories that they should highlight during the keynote. The AI for Earth includes things like scanning large quantities of grain and wheat for pathogens and predicting where famines are going to happen. So a lot of really inspirational stories there that the Microsoft is funding, and they have that people can apply for grants through this as well. So it's a good thing. The other big announcement, besides Satya Nadella, the other two guys are the CEOs of Adobe and SAP, and they announced what they're calling the Open Data Initiative, which is built around three guiding principles. Every organization owns and maintains their data. Customers can enable business processes to drive insight from that data, and a partner ecosystem to leverage an open and common data model, which I think is really interesting. It uses the word common data model. So if you look at the SAP and Adobe press releases, they all use that word, common data model. Whether that means that they're going to build on the official Microsoft CDM and CDS, or if that just means we're going to have a common schema for specifically for customer information, like CXM industries and like retail. They were also putting, not so subtle barbs against people like Amazon. Satya Nadella said, why would you partner with somebody who's going to turn around and compete with you? And so I think this is something that's more of an idea than a real thing right now. But with Adobe, Microsoft, and SAP, if those three giants' data work seamlessly between their systems, that's going to be a pretty strong thing in the market. And other partners are going to be able to come on board. So you didn't get to go to Ignite, you can still experience it. You go to myignite.microsoft.com. This is all through the Microsoft technical community. You can watch almost every session from Ignite, including Satya Nadella's vision keynotes. I've highlighted 12 or so sessions here that I would definitely put on your watch list. And that includes the keynote, customer service session, remote assist, great session about how to automate Teams, to automate creation of channels and things like that inside Teams, and drive user adoption of Teams, more detail in the October release. So you need to be watching these videos. A little tip, if you are getting on a plane on Friday or Monday or whenever, download some of these. All these are hosted on YouTube. You can use any number of extensions in Chrome or other browsers to download these videos. That's what I do. We're all busy, we're all traveling. Make use of that time. Download them to your phone, iPad, computer, whatever device you want, and then watch them while you're on the plane or at night or something. If you're not investing 3 to 5 hours per week in learning new things, you're falling behind. This has been CRM Audio, the Dynamics 365 podcast. Send us your feedback at voice@crm.audio. Check out our other shows at crm.audio or subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, and any place else podcasts are offered. This podcast is a production of Dynamics Podcast, LLC.